Today's conversation is sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners. If you're an accredited investor and you want to know about how we're helping other accredited investors keep more of their income, go to firstgencp.com/going long.
For me, really to go to the next level, I had to take a step back and say, this is where I want to go. The actions that I'm taking right now are not helping me get there because I'm controlling everything and all of the decisions are coming from me. And I can only make so many decisions. Whereas if I have other partners, we can all be making decisions and be able to accomplish way more.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, the #1 podcast for long-distance real asset investing.
Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. And yes, I'm your host, Billy Keels, and we're back once again for another amazing episode with a fantastic guest who's going to help you to get closer to your dreams and your goals much faster by sharing their experience. But before we do that, I just want to thank you once again for you continuing to share across social media, screenshots, tagging us. We think it's awesome. You're doing that across LinkedIn and Instagram, and it's really, really cool. So thanks for that. And it also always continues to help to attract new Going Long podcast family members, and we really, really appreciate that. And you consistently being there for us. And also too, you know what? If you want to leave that honest written review as well as rating, I know you've thought about it for a while. We've got a nice simple video. You can do that on the Apple Podcast platform, on the Spotify platform. And we'd really appreciate that. So go ahead and feel free to leave us that nice, honest written review as well as rating. And we'll help to attract others to the Going Long family. And then also too, for those of you who are interested in checking out all the previous episodes, all you need to do is go to firstgencp.com/podcasts. Once again, that's firstgencp.com/podcasts. And you can check out every single podcast episode. You got the transcripts, you have the audio version, you have the video version, all that cool stuff. So go check it out and feel free to share any of the episodes with your family and friends as well. And listen, I know many of you want to find out how you can make sure that you have high performing specialists on your team. We have a guest that's going to talk about that. Not only did he see what it was like and understand because he saw it firsthand from his own father and his construction company, but today we're going to talk to you exactly how you can make sure how you can have the right specialists on your team as you continue to build out your real asset portfolio. Because today's conversation with Oliver Fernandez of McKinsey Construction LLC, he's going to be bringing you lots of really, really good insights, and we're going to get to that just after this. Are you a busy, high-paid professional? Someone that in the previous 2 years has earned $200,000 and is expected to earn $200,000 this year? Or maybe if you filed jointly, previously you've earned $300,000 the previous 2 years and you're also expected to do that this year. Or maybe if not, either individually or jointly, you have $1 million in net worth, not including your primary residence. If you meet any of these criteria, then you're someone that the IRS considers to be an accredited investor. That probably means you're someone like an enterprise software sales executive. You may be an executive in a major corporation. You may be a doctor. You may be a lawyer, maybe a high-paid consultant. You may even work for a major sports franchise. The thing I know you have in common is that you continue to do the hard work. Like you're doing 100% of the work and you're only bringing home 50% of the reward because you continue to get crushed by your income taxes. If you are tired of this situation and you're looking for a new solution, then go to firstgencp.com/going long. When you get there, that's going to help you to start the journey so that you can begin to take back control of your taxes, take control of your time. And then also that means you're going to be able to spend more of the time that you want with the people that you love the most. And that is the way that you're going to get the personal freedom that you're looking for. So if you're looking to take back control, go ahead and go to firstgencp.com/going long and see how we can help you today. So if you want to understand the importance of having high performing specialists on your long distance investing team and why that's important, then guess what? Today's a conversation you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. I promise. You know why? Because today's guest, awesome guest, not only has his BA of civil engineering from a school that's known as Syracuse. He may tell us a little bit more about that. He also has his MA concentration in construction management from Georgia Institute Tech. He is a real estate investor, business owner, and he is on a mission to build quality construction of high performing teams. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation the founder of McKinsey Construction LLC, Mr. Oliver Fernandez. Oliver, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, really appreciate you, Billy. Excited to be here with you, and I share my insights, share my experiences in business, investing, and life.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to that. And Olivier Fernandez, as I mentioned to you earlier today, Mr. Oliver Fernandez, we are super excited to have you on the show. This is one of these things, like the Going Long family knows this about me. I lived in France, I live in Spain. And so I think your name and being able to pronounce it multiple ways is awesome. So hopefully you're okay with that.
I love it. I mean, like, the way you say it, like it's music to my ears. Keep saying it that way. It's cool.
All right. Fantastic. Well, listen, man, I like to ask everybody at least 5 questions. You're going to get 2 in the beginning. You're going to get 3 at the very end. And then, you know what? Oliver, you're going to get a lot of questions in the middle. I just don't know what those questions are. So let's start out with the very first one. Help the Going Long family get to understand who you are a little bit more by helping us understand where you reside in the U.S.
Yeah, I live in Washington, D.C. right now. I'm originally from Maine, a country boy, a reverse country boy. I remember I moved down here in 2013. I was first living on my sister's couch while I was getting into my first real estate deal, getting my business off the ground. And now we live with my wife and 2 kids. I got a daughter who's 2.5. Her name is Liliana. I got a son who's my name, Oliver. His middle name's different. It's Glenn, which is after my father-in-law, and then Fernandez. And then I got my wife, who's amazing, also an entrepreneur, also a business owner, also an investor, Leah. We all live in Washington, D.C., just north of DuPont Circle.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. So appreciate that and helping us understand from the state from which you hail and also understanding where you live now. And help us understand another thing, Oliver. Like, I'm a big person on positivity. Help us understand, what is the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
When I wait, so right now we're in the transition of like moving our daughter to a new school, and she's been going there for the last month. And when we first brought her to school, it was like me and my wife both walked her up the stairs. We were like kind of on pins and needles, and we put her down, and we both leaned in for a kiss, and the teacher grabbed her hand and she was off to the races. And I was like, whoa. And then the next day it was a little different. She was like, no, Mama, Daddy, no. Like, she didn't want to go. She was like scared. She was a little nervous. She had to build that courage muscle. But today I dropped her off and I put her backpack on. I gave her little blanket, and the teacher wasn't even there, because normally the teacher's there to receive her. Teacher wasn't even there. I patted her on the butt, and she just went right in. She knew her little path to go. And so it's just, that was like the most positive, inspirational thing that's happened for me in the last 24 hours. Because I love just seeing growth. I love when I experience growth in my own self, and then seeing her experience that growth. It's like there's nothing more exciting, invigorating, enriching for my life than that.
No, that's really, really awesome. Appreciate you sharing those stories. And so interesting, right? So many times that the things that are positive, we focus so much, or at least I did, because that's where I came from, is a place of not having a lot of financial resource. So I used to think the most important things were always going to be around money. But quite frequently, we realize that it's about the moments, it's about the experiences, it's about the growth that we see either in ourselves or in others that really are the things that stand out on a day-to-day basis. So I appreciate you sharing that with us, and hopefully you're going to continue to see many more of those days and lots of growth. And before you know it, your daughter will be going, "Hey, Dad, you know what? It's all good, man. I'll drop you off somewhere." so it's fantastic. And also to Oliver, listen, I know we're just kind of meeting, but the entire Going Long family already knows this about me. I am someone who is a recovering perfectionist, which means sometimes I try to do things that are like, I set a really high standard. And sometimes it makes me do things that are almost impossible to do. For instance, trying to tell your entire backstory in 2 seconds. It was never going to happen, but I try week after week to like make this amazing intro and talk about all the things you did in 2 seconds. Hopefully you'll forgive me, but I always like to try. And at the same time, hopefully you will help me out, Oliver, because it's really important that the Going Long family gets to know you. So what I would love for you to do is help me out by you telling your own backstory in your own words, and you take as much time as you need to tell your backstory so that we understand more about who you are and how you got to this point in your journey. I would also ask one other favor. is that you would talk to us about some of the major decisions that you've made in your life, because sometimes those decisions can be difficult, sometimes they're really easy, but just to help give us a sense of some of the major decisions that you've had to make to get to this point in your journey, and then we'll see where you and I take the conversation from there.
Love it. Yeah. So, it's great. And when I first, was coming up, my parents were entrepreneurs. My dad owned a construction company. My mom was like more of like a support for him in that business. But then she also branched off and doing some real estate investing, and then also, helped build some school initiatives. And, seeing that really opened my eyes to a lot of things. I knew what was possible in the world, because like I saw my parents make millions of dollars. But then I also knew like the downside of that, because I also saw my parents lose a lot of money and go into bankruptcy and see what that did to our family. At the same time, I also watched my uncle, who also was just mainly a real estate investor, and he had a son the son was like maybe 15 years younger than me, and so when I was 15, he was like, or when I was 15, he was 2. So it's 13 years younger than me. And there was something tragic that happened to my uncle. He ended up having a heart attack and passing away at the age of 50. And it devastated the family. I mean, we were so upset. I mean, he was a guy that was such a rock for my mom. It was her bigger brother by a couple of years. So they grew up together. They went to schools together. In elementary all the way through college. So they had such a really great relationship. But one of the things that I took away from watching that moment of death was that the real estate that he had helped take care of his son for the rest of his life, and it didn't do everything, but it definitely allowed him to go to, amazing schools all through elementary, high school, all that stuff, and then also go to another amazing college. So that really left a massive impact on me. And like, hey, Oliver, I got to be an investor. I got to be someone that can leave a legacy, because that's what investing allows you to do, is leave a legacy. Whereas like sometimes when you're so focused on like the transactionalness of like, doing your job, or like sometimes even being a business owner, like you get so involved in the transactions of it that and then most business owners, similar to what I was previously doing, like they don't build out a team. So like when if something happens to you tragic, like you pass away, like the business stops, the income stops. Whereas like if you set up your investments properly, they can continue to roll into the future and take care of your family, take care of the things that you're excited about. So, coming out of college, I really put a lot of energy and effort in becoming an investor. And I had to, take that mindset of, seeing entrepreneurship and at its highest level, and then also seeing at its lowest level when my parents went into bankruptcy, and kind of write my own story, and now we're in, when writing my own story, it was started with one of those little single family renovation and flip. And with that single family, I worked with every trade, like the electrician, the plumber, the carpenters. I was their helper. So they were one man show, and then I would be the helper, like cut this 4 feet 3 inches. I'd cut it 4 feet 3 inches, hand it to them. Hey, glue this, glue that. I'd go and glue this and glue that, and then hand it to them. But I learned so much of the structure of building a property, and I use that even to this day. Now we're doing 100 plus properties. Typically they're like 300 units, and I'm using those same frameworks and how things go together and how things are structured from that single family today. So it was like such a great learning experience, and also a great investing experience, because I also started to see the power of watching my money work for me versus having to, do the transactionalness of just working for money. So yeah, I started off in single family. Now I'm doing 100 plus unit properties. I'm also a business owner. So looking to building out our team of specialists. I remember when I was 2 years in the business, I had rheumatoid arthritis. So here I was, 23, 24, 25 at what I thought was the prime of my life, in trying to go out there and make things happen in the real world. This wasn't, I wasn't being protected by my parents or anything anymore. And now all of a sudden I'm like stuck in a bedridden, because I needed to get surgery to kind of eliminate this rheumatoid arthritis that was happening in my foot. But at the same time, that process allowed me to build out the ability to visualize and picture what was going on in the field. And when I say the field, that these projects we had were in Florida, and I was in New Jersey at my in-laws' house, recovering on a bed there. So I wasn't physically in the field, but I was visualizing and getting debriefs from my team members that were in the field. So that it gave me the ability to develop this muscle of getting team members that could execute without me being there, and how to inspire them and how to keep them rolling and how to give them the information that they need to keep moving forward without me saying, all right, I'll be there in 5 minutes, building that muscle. Instead, I built this other muscle of leverage and working with my team to be able to work from, miles or hundreds of thousands of miles away, and still be able to get stuff done. So that's where the backstory basically,
Yeah, man. So, you helped us to understand a number of different areas, right? Everything from something that you saw at a very young age, right? Before you turned 20 years old, that a real life example of, parents having success, parents having a lot of struggle, right? And we're talking financially. You also saw what can happen when you have assets that are working for you versus you continuously working for assets. The story that you shared with us about your cousin. And then also being able to recognize you started small, you went in and you were able to also be able to learn from others, learn by doing, and then you've taken that and you've been able to learn how to scale that. Also learn how to build teams, be able to do that effectively, and do that in essence, regardless of where others are. So understanding that how you kind of got started and where you are today, I would love to kind of understand. I think not just me, but me and the entire Going Long family would like to understand, what was it about actually going out and doing the task yourself, right? And I'll give you some context, right? Because we have a lot of people that are very busy professionals that they didn't have time, or they're starting later in life. They've been working in a corporate job for 15, 20 years. And they're like, hey, listen, I've been working my whole life. Now I need assets to start working for me. But just to give us some of the insight in some of the things that you actually learned by doing and how that helps you today when you're working with other busy professionals to be able to help them understand why what you're doing is going to add value to them.
Yeah, really good question. So a concept that I got a understanding of is that, growth and control are inversely related. So if you want to grow, you're going to have to give up a little control. So when I was doing these single family properties, I was controlling everything. It was very manageable, right? Even when I went to the duplex and the triplex, it was very manageable. I could control everything. But at the same time, I almost capped my growth once I had done one or done two, and they were comfortable to me. So for me really to go to the next level, I had to take a step back and say, you know what? This is where I want to go. The actions that I'm taking right now are not helping me get there because I'm controlling everything, and all of the decisions are coming from me. And I can only make so many decisions. Whereas if I have other partners, we can all be making decisions and be able to accomplish way more and have a bigger vision for what we're going after. So it's like I had to give up a little bit of control. I'm not involved in every decision, but it's allowed me to take the duplex and the triplexes, refinance out, take the $500,000 from those properties, and then put them in bigger properties. And now have a team of people where it's instead of it being one person working on 10 problems, we got 10 people working on one problem. And the level of stress and the anxiety reduces tremendously when you do that as well, which is also a help. I got no more hair to lose, so I need all the help that I can get. And then and another benefit to that is that it allows you to start separating your income generation from your time. Because when you're controlling everything and you're doing everything, you need to be present. You have to be there. And if you can learn to separate your income generation from your time, then you can still be making money while you're going to visit Billy in France and Spain and going to Africa, or going to Israel. All these places that I've always dreamed of going. So yeah, that's where I would start. That's how if I was a busy professional, which I am, and a high income earner, which I am, that's exactly where I would start, was with that framework. If you want to grow and you want to make more money, you have to find a way to give up some control and get other people also making decisions for you. But in a structured way, right? You're not going to just say, hey, Leah, go do this, and hope it comes back. It needs to be in the vehicles and the areas that you already know a lot about, and that that can generate the types of returns that you're interested in.
Which is absolutely fantastic. So, because at a certain point, you do need to be able to generate income to be able to, what I always like to say is you're purchasing more of your time, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the asset that we all have the exact same amount of, and it's how are you investing that time that gives you the greatest type of return. Trusting that you're enjoying today's conversation. And you know what? If you're tired of getting crushed by taxes and you're looking for greater freedom to be able to choose what you want to do when you want to do it, make sure that you go to firstgencp.com/going-long and see how we can help you today. Let's get back to the conversation. As we talk about specialists, right? One of the things that I typically like to talk about is the way that I did things completely wrong. Like, I had money, I was looking to invest, I made an investment, I realized I didn't have a team, I was scrambling, I was running all over the place because I was doing that from Barcelona, Spain. My assets were back in the United States. I didn't really understand the location that I was investing in, because I had the money, I bought the property, built the team, and then I was like, okay, well, this location's pretty good, maybe not be the best. But the one thing that I was clear about, Oliver, was that I wanted to create cash flow, right? And so now, one of the things that I help to teach other people is do the opposite of what I did. I did it wrong. I started with buying into the opportunity, buying the property. And so now it's about, okay, well, what is it specifically that I am trying to achieve, i.e. buy more time? How do I want to go about doing that? Do I want cash flow? Do I want appreciation because I know I have a longer time frame? Whatever. Some people may want to just travel around the world, and that's the benefit that they're looking for. They want to earn an additional $20,000, $30,000 a year, or maybe $5,000, doesn't matter. But after you know personally what it is that you want, then you go to the locations that are going to give you the highest probability of investing in assets that are going to give you what you need, right? Or investing in the type of assets that will give you that. After that, and I think this is the critical part, and this is really what I'd love for you to chime in, it's about how do you build that world-class team that is going to help you invest in the right opportunity, right? What is the right investment opportunity for you? Like I said, doing exactly opposite of what I did when I got started. But help us to understand, if we focus on that team part, right? Because this is where you also have loads of expertise, is how do you then go about really building out, or being able to, you talked earlier about being able to give the clear direction. And whether you're a passive investor or an active investor, what are some of the keys that you found to being able to build the team that's the right high-performing team for yourself?
Yeah, really good question. So when I first, started out, like the people that were immediately around me, they didn't have experience doing what I wanted to do. So I almost developed this thing that held me back later on in life, was like, I had to almost like quiet and shut down the people who are around me, so that I could just like get off the ground and get going. But then once I got going, I needed to turn that off. I needed to bring other good people around me, and I kept it turned off for too long. And then all of a sudden we were doing like millions of dollars in revenue, and I wasn't bringing the proper people around me. So I I personally suffered from it because it was like all of a sudden here it's like a 24-hour day and I'm working 20 hours. Yes, I had like the tangible resources that I've always dreamed of, but like my life was crappy, in terms of like ability to really go out and leave for a week or leave for a couple of days and really enjoy that, right? So I now I've turned that on, and it's and the way you turn that on is I listened to a podcast, and they in the end of the podcast they invited me to go to an event, and I went to that event, and I was at that event, and I was like, holy cow, there's other high performing people just like me out here in the world. I was all of a sudden with my people. I thought there was no one else like me because I was comparing myself and my situation to everybody that I had grown up with, or my family, or my current surroundings. But then once I opened my mind up and went to that event, I was like, holy cow, there's other great people like me out here. And having that understanding and seeing that was like, okay, I'm willing to give up some control because I know this person's can make a good decision. And the reason why I know that they can make a good decision is they've already made good decisions for themselves and to put themselves in the current situation that they're in. And I vetted that out. And I vetted that out before I went deeper with them. But once I did understand that, I was like, great, let's do bigger things together now that we have, not just one high performer in me. Now we got 2, 3, 4, 5 high performers that can go and take down $100 million deal, or do a $250 million fund, or buy that 100+ unit property. So yeah, but I couldn't do that on my own. It's overwhelming when you think about doing something like that on your own. Like I was overwhelmed with my duplexes and triplexes and quads. So for me to get to that level, I had to bring on the team.
Yeah, and so would you say that it's like one of the keys to success to being able to do that, if we kind of play that back, is you knew that you had an interest and you were looking in that direction, and then from there you started taking action. You talked about going to be in certain types of events. Once you were in those events, you started reaching out to people. Is that building alliances, building networks, building education, just to help the Go Along family understand some of those keys to like the action that you were actually taking?
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, 100% accurate. And it's a really good perspective that you're looking at that from. So yeah, number one, it was an eye opener of like, I basically had closed off this part of my brain that like there was no one else like me. And then all of a sudden you have an awareness moment of like, oh wow, there is a lot of people like me. So that was awareness moment number one. And then awareness moment number two is that I needed to step my game up in terms of like my education on like investments and bigger deals and understanding how all the numbers work. Because yes, I was doing things and I was doing deals and I was doing well, but there was now this new bar that was set of what is possible. So my mindset opened in terms of like being open to getting more mentorship and coaching. And then I started thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, I've had mentors in every area of my life. Why did my construction company get to where it's at? Because I found a mentor that was doing exactly what I wanted to do, had done tens of millions of dollars worth of this business. And I went out and found the business, and he helped me execute on it. And then I got the results that he said I would get. Same thing with real estate. I found a mentor that was already buying the type of properties that I wanted to buy, was able to get through the design process and the renovation process. And I got mentorship from him to be able to get the same results that he was getting. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden I wanted to get these bigger results. I had to get a mentor to help me get those bigger results. So yeah, you hit it right on the head. It's an awareness that there's people like you that you can trust and grow with. There's the education part where sometimes you gotta level up, and it's great. I love being in environments where I'm not the smartest person, where I have to level up. It forces you to grow to be able to hang with these people.
Yeah, and so when you're able to get into the new environment, it goes back to one of the things you were saying earlier. It's how do you grow, right? In the typical saying is you grow outside of your comfort zone, or growth happens once you're outside of your comfort zone, right? And at the same time, if we also bring it back, because you talked about one of the things that finding someone that does what you do. So what are the things that you have seen that have been successful with helping, especially people who are passive investors, to be able to find what their niche is? Like, what is the sweet spot of things that they are more aligned with in terms of an investment perspective? What are some of the keys to success that you've seen that those people that are passively investing over and over that have figured out that they would like to invest in this type of asset or these types of assets?
Well, I first want to congratulate everyone that is a passive investor, because now all of a sudden they're getting compound interest working for them, right? And then that's like one of those things where most people don't understand it, and they have compound interest working against them, like with their credit cards. They got things that are there. Somebody else is charging them 18% a year instead of getting their money working in vehicles that can be 15, 18% a year. So I think being a passive investor is a great decision. And honestly, I invest my money passively as well as doing these deals actively. So, and your question was specifically about like, what's the decision
you know what? Just being able to find your niche as a passive investor or even an active investor. Like you mentioned before, like some people love, multifamily. Some people love small multifamily. Other people love self-storage. Some people love just being able to utilize life insurance policies to invest in whatever they want. Basically, just from your perspective, how have you found that the people that find their niche the most frequently are and feel comfortable with that, how they've gotten to that point?
Yeah. So, I mean, the way I think about that is like, you got to try something, and it doesn't have to be all in at one time. And the reason why I say that is because nobody knows what they like until they get involved in it, Right. I love real estate because I like the little drips. I like the cash flow drips. And then I also like appreciation and the bigger capital gains of when we sell a property or refinance the property. I also like the ability to be able to buy $100 million worth of real estate for $25 million, So like, I love all of those things about it, but you need to find out what you like. And the only way you can really find out what you like is to open your mind up and try things, over the last 5 years, I've opened my mind up. I never would touch the stock market. I hated it. I just was like, I've just seen too many people just like, make money, but then, they lose all this money. And I just, and I took that experience or that hearing of that experience, and I overlaid it over the stock market is horrible. But it came a point in time with my construction company where we have to hold cash in a bank account for our bonds. And then all of a sudden that cash is basically losing money every year because of inflation. So I then opened my mind up and was like, how can I take this money and get it to work for me? So then one of my friends taught me a way where we could buy like stocks and then put some puts on it. And it was way over my head, it caught my attention because we actually started making money on it, but we also protected our position with the puts. So it's trying things and seeing if you like it. Now, after investing in stocks, I now understand why I love real estate way more than investing in the stocks. But I had to try the things myself to really get a better understanding of how they actually function, to get to what I want to put my time and energy and effort into.
Yeah, and one of the things that you are helping just to reiterate is, I got into a certain point, Oliver, where I was. I wanted to call you Olivier, but Oliver, I was in this point where I was like a theoretical mastermind. Like I knew all the formulas, but I wasn't taking any action. And so going long family, what I want you to hear what Oliver's saying is it's exactly that. Like, don't get in this whole point of where you just theoretically know all this stuff. The very first time that it also happened for me when I started realizing which niches, because there's not just one, do I actually appreciate. It's when I started putting my money behind them. And then I started, when I placed my money, that's what drew my attention. Then I started paying attention. Then I knew, yes, I like this. No, I don't like that. I like how this feels. I don't like how this feels. This gave me no control. This gives me more control. et cetera, et cetera. But finding your niche or however you want to say it, it's really about going from theory to practice. You have to place capital, because if you don't place capital, you're going to be like Billy was back in the day, which is just like this theoretical mastermind who had zero assets working for him. And I was working I was working a lot. I was going to say something, but I decided not to say it. So let's just leave it that way. So listen, I appreciate you sharing that with us, Oliver. And here's one of the things, like, we've got to get ready and get to the Going Long Final 3, because like, it's just that time. But the thing is, Oliver, I never ask anybody the Going Long Final 3. And today you're our special guest, unless you tell me that you're ready. So my question for you is, are you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Why did I know you were going to say that? I was absolutely positive you were going to say that. So here we go. So we started with you over in the DC area, although originally you hail from Maine. So, but I'd like to bring things back to this side of the pond now. And Oliver, one of the things is, I live over here in Europe. This is now my new adopted home on side of the pond. And so I would love for you to share with me and the entire Going Long family your favorite European destination that you've either visited or still on your bucket list to visit. Your favorite European city that you've either visited or still on your bucket list to visit.
I'm going to go with the bucket list because I want to talk about it. So I get rolling over there to it. So I want to take a trip with my wife and my kids and family members that want to attend to the Amalfi Coast. And I want to get a yacht and just be there and be on the water and just totally experience all of the beauty that part of the world has. And you're probably, are you familiar with that?
È molto bella. Yes, it's very, very nice.
Yeah.
And yes,
you probably know it better than I do.
Well, listen, when you're going to get the yacht, you can give me a call. I know we're not family members, but give me a call. If you have some extra space, we'll hang out with you.
Yeah.
No, it's a lovely place, absolutely lovely place. And this is a great bucket list area to be able to go to. It's absolutely spectacular. And like I said, let me know when you're ready to head over here. So question number 2 then, Oliver, is, and this really goes back to a lot of the experience that I've had around being able to interact with people that are very successful, right? I consider you to be someone who's very successful from business ownership, from someone who has continued to evolve in the real asset game. You're sharing with us the way that you're building teams as a business owner, et cetera, et cetera. And so one of the things that I've always recognized about people that are very successful, and hopefully you'll agree with me, is that people that are very successful, they typically go and they want to put together a plan. They put that plan together, and then from being able to go from plan to execution, they get the right people around them, and then they go out and they start with the plan. And then the very first time that they want to put the plan in place, everything goes perfectly, which allows them to go even faster, more. Oliver, you're very concerned for me, aren't you? You look very concerned.
A little bit.
Everybody check out the video version, because Oliver's like very, very worried about me. He has no idea what's happening right now. I was like, what is this? Of course, nobody gets things perfectly the first time, Oliver, especially really successful people. You know that. You're very successful, man. You're a gracious guest. Of course, you didn't want to put me on the spot. That was a joke. That was completely a joke. Thank you very much for not embarrassing me. But here's the thing. That was kind of a joke. I just like to have fun here on my podcast. The reality is, people that are really successful, not only do they not do things perfectly the first time, most of the time, they usually do things like they make a lot more mistakes than most people, probably 20 to 50 times more mistakes than most people. But because they're usually trying new things, they do something that is, the first part was a joke. This is serious. They do something that's very, very different. And that is, every single time that there is a relevant mistake, right? Every single time, they stop, they learn from that mistake, and then they go out and put different strategies, tactics, and actions in place to minimize the probability of that exact same thing happening again. So I don't really want you to focus on what you did, the mistake that you made, or the learning opportunity that you had, or however you want to describe it. I really would love for you to share with me and the entire Going Long family, what was the one lesson that you learned when you did something wrong that you really know that the Going Long family needs to hear today to minimize the probability of the same mistake happening, so they can get much closer to their goals much faster?
Yeah. So when I was in second grade, we had a parent teacher conference, which is actually really special for me right this moment, because I have my first parent teacher conference coming up this week. And the teacher asked me, and my mom was sitting right beside me, "Hey, Oliver, who do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, immediately respond, "I want to be my mom." And she looked at me and said, "Why do you want to be your mom?" Because she always tries. And my mom was a city girl. We were living in Maine. We would get hit with snowstorms. We get hit with, when I mean snowstorms, I mean 3 feet of snow in Maine. And she's from DC, where you get a dusting and the whole city shuts down. Ice storms, we'd lose power, all of these things. But she always would try. She'd always try, and I'd be right beside her, getting the wood for the fire, driving down the icy roads to try to, get gas or whatever it was. And that's the thing, is you gotta try. You gotta build that courage muscle to just try the thing. And then once you start the thing, you're gonna realize, I don't like it, then you can pivot. Or I do like it, and then you got to do it more. Just for me, I started investing. It didn't start off with hundreds of thousands of dollars investing. It started off with $10,000 and $20,000, and now it's consistent. And now it's it's a part of who I am, and I love it so much that I want to just invest all my money, because I understand the fruits that come from that, planting those seeds. So yeah, that would be my thing.
Fantastic. So be able to make sure that you're trying, you're taking action, and be able to continue to move forward. So thank you very much for sharing that. And I'm sure your mother is very, very proud. So, and with that, listen, Oliver, this is the last question number 3 of the Going Long Final 3. Help us understand, just to help feed our minds, what is the one book that you would recommend to the Going Long family today?
So the book that changed my life was the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. Got me thinking, don't want to be on the left side, I want to be on the right side. But the cool thing is that was one framework. But I realized, multiple years later, that Robert Kiyosaki wrote another book, and it's called Why the Rich Are Getting Richer. And then that book was even more of a game changer. So yeah, go check that book out. Why the Rich Are Getting Richer. Why
the Rich Are Getting Richer, man. So, these conversations go by super, super duper fast, man. And I think about you starting out the conversation. You're telling us about, your dad and the construction company, and then also to being able to see mom and dad have the highs, have the lows. Then you have this real life event with your cousin, right? And you're thinking to yourself, on your own family, you'd gone through these highs and lows, and then you have a tragic event where you lost your uncle. And at the same time, you saw what your uncle had already done, although tragically lost at 50, had placed different assets already in motion that allowed your younger cousin, I think you were 15, he was 2, to be able to financially be able to have a number of things. And I'm sure that also translated into a lot of emotional securities as well. And you thought to yourself, wow, this is something that you definitely want to continue to do. And you got your degrees, but you also had that North Star, and doing the things that you knew that you wanted to do is to be able to have and formulate that same kind of safe environment. And of course, you started in your single family residences. You started getting your experience. You're building your company. And then from there, you continue to go, and you continue to grow, and you continue to now even be not only a business owner, an investor, you're also helping others to be able to invest alongside you. And I know that so many people are like, yeah, Billy, but just ask him the question, please. So here's the thing, Oliver. I know so many people in the Going Long family really want to know how they can find out more about what you're doing at McKinsey Construction LLC. So help us understand, what's the best way for the Going Long family to get in touch with you and find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah. You can reach out to me and connect with me at investwitholiver.com. So that's www.investwitholiver.com. And when you put your information there to connect, we'll give you an asset that will show you exact examples of how you take $50,000 and make it $100,000, how to take $200,000 and make it $400,000, and how to take $500,000 and make $1 million.
Fantastic. All right. So everybody check him out, investwitholiver.com. And listen, man, Oliver, I just want to say thank you very much for allowing me to also say and pronounce your name as Olivier, which I think is kind of cool. Very nice of you. And I do want to say thank you so very much for deciding to invest your time with me and the entire Going Long family today. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Okay, awesome. And listen, if you give me 10 seconds, I just want to say a couple seconds of words to the Going Long family, and we'll get out of here. Listen, everybody, Oliver shared his experience. He talked to you about the importance of the assets, even though when he saw early on in life, he talked to you about being able to take action. Don't be stuck in that theoretical area. Take today's conversation, listen to it again, share it with your family, with your friends, have a conversation about it so that you can go from theory to also practical knowledge. And listen, while you're doing that, he's also giving you a way for you to reach out. So if you want to reach out to him, do that. While you are taking action, I'll be here preparing the next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much. Trust that you enjoyed today's conversation. And once again, today's conversation was sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners. If you're an accredited investor and want to find out more about how we're helping accredited investors to gain their personal freedom even faster, go to firstgencp.com/going long.